Today's episode, I have Samantha Gladish with me today. I'm so thrilled to have this conversation because I know part of this topic that we are going to discuss together is something that we as women really could use some information about that we can kind of focus on. Samantha is a hormone nutritionist and business mentor. She is the author of best-selling Amazon bestseller, The 30-Day Hormone Solution. She also has a podcast, The Wellness Witch, which is a top-rated podcast in Canada. You kind of have your hands in so many things, which I love, but I love that they all kind of go back to this hormone, nutrition, wellness. Her passion for business and is an extension of her work as a health coach, which led her to develop her online business mentorship program for practitioners and nutritionists. So I think it's really awesome that you've developed something to help support people in the same kind of work that you do, which is incredible. She also likes to bake delicious desserts in her kitchen, which I support that too. So I'm just excited to have this conversation with you, excited to know more about you and what you do. What else should the listeners know about you?
Oh man, that's awesome. It's always that uncomfortableness when someone's reading
I
your bio,
know.
as
It's
I'm
like,
sure.
what? I get it totally.
Yeah, it's so awkward. Well, I appreciate being here. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I feel like you kind of touched on, some of the big ones there. I work in the health and wellness space, running a nutrition business, but also run a business mentorship program. And I live in just outside of Toronto, Ontario in Canada, and, work from home, love baking and cooking, as you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
If you, want some more insights into kind of like my everyday and the things that I love to do and bring me joy, just being with my animals, my husband outside, hiking, nature, yeah,
That's
that's a
awesome.
little, yeah.
You also mentioned in your bio the importance of working from a place of alignment, ease, and flow. And those
Definitely.
three words just jump right out at me because those are also something that's so important to me and something I'm
Yes,
constantly working on and trying to help my clients with is this alignment, the ease, and the flow. So
totally.
actually, I would love to hear why did that become so important to you?
For sure. So I think that many of us entrepreneurs, we start out growing our business with, passion and excitement. And of course, it's going to be normal to feel doubtful and frustrated and overwhelmed. And I actually think it takes a bit of time to find that alignment, that ease, and that flow. You start out, like I said, with this excitement and this passion, and as you move forward, taking action, you start to realize, wow, this is hard, or this didn't work out the way that I hoped for, or I don't know how to do this thing. And it starts to again bring on this doubt that I think what happens is it can really pull us out of connecting to that alignment and ease, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you've been in the same scenario where you were headed in one direction and things didn't really go the way you hoped. And then it kind of messes with your head. And then you see what so-and-so is doing over here. And maybe, oh, I should go and do that. And you get pulled out of that alignment and ease so often. And that's definitely what happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
I had this vision, really excited, moved forward, taking action. And then, oh, this is really hard. Oh, this isn't working out. Oh, I don't know about this. And you start to just get in your head a lot. And then I would constantly get distracted with so many other things. And I had to constantly reel myself back in and be like, okay, put your head down, trust yourself,
Mm-hmm.
limit the noise. And every time I did that, that's when I got into alignment with in ease and with
Mm.
flow and just like trusting myself and trusting my instincts. So when I look back over the years of growing my business and all of that, it was like, when did I feel the best? When did things work out? How did I, what were the things that really lit me up? Every time I just sat down and just limited the distractions and trusted myself and my vision, that's when things felt in alignment and ease and flow.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that you touched on this without exactly saying this, but alignment, sometimes we think that we pick a path or a way or a thing, and we step in this thing, this path, this way. And we think that that's like, okay, we're just going to stay right here. This is all that is, right? We're just going to stay here. And that is alignment, when really alignment is checking in with yourself consistently every single day. Does this feel right? Is this good? Is this where I want to be headed? And alignment actually is a thing that, you know, forces us to pivot or to change or to, because alignment is inside of ourselves, right? It's like how we are feeling, how we are seeing things, how we, you know, what's speaking to us from us. And so I think that's the thing is, then if we're listening to this outside noise, we're never going to be in alignment with ourselves because we're not listening to ourselves, right?
Totally. It's so true. And like you just touched on it so beautifully there. And I also think that, like you said, we get into this headspace of like, this is it, this is the thing and nothing else. And you have to recognize that as your business grows, as you grow, like you're going to evolve. There's going to be new things that you're interested in, and it's okay to pivot and explore that. And, you know, again, that's part of your alignment, right? Is trusting that. But I think what also can kind of get in the way is, are we getting into alignment or are we actually just distracting ourselves? Right. I think that's sometimes a hard thing to decipher too, because, you know, with many of the students and the clients that I work with in our mentorship program, like I see that happen a lot where it's like, again, they're lit up and they're excited about something. They're on this path, they're aligned. And then all of a sudden it didn't go the way that they had planned and hoped for, that they want to give up so quickly. So now they distract themselves with something else. And it's like that the alignment, you need to give it time. Like you need to trust and be committed and give it time and not give up so quickly. I think that's a big thing too, is we just give up so quickly.
Yeah, I agree with that totally. And alignment is not like this result is what's going to happen, right? It's
right.
How we are going to feel, what our, you know, greater purpose is. And so when it is so much attached to a result in a certain way, then that's when we become distracted. That's when we become like let down, you know, I don't know. It's interesting. I think back on, you know, an experience that I had where I knew that this was the path that I was to walk down and to go. And the path, I thought, you know, when things feel like, okay, this is the right thing, then we kind of assume that it's going to feel easy or good. And it was the most painful struggle, like hard. And I would just sit and I would just say, how is this it? Like, I know, I 100% know that this is the right path, but why is this the path? Like, I need answers, you know? And now here I am, maybe 10 years outside of that. And I look back and I'm like, yeah, that's actually where the break happened. That's where the openness came from. That's where the true alignment was developed, you know, that what do I actually want in life? What do I actually want in business? What do I actually care about? What is my purpose here? And that's where it came from. So the result, if I was only attached to the result in that moment, I would have burned everything
totally
to the ground.
100%. You know? Yes, I can totally relate. Yeah. Good point. I love that.
So when you're looking back at your own experience and you see this big, you know, a season of growth that came from maybe struggle, maybe it was a positive growth, maybe it was planned. Like what experience kind of sticks out to you as this season of growth?
Yeah, well, I definitely think back to those beginning stages of my business, and I was working in corporate. I was a sales rep working for a big supplement company, and I was dabbling with my business on the side and, you know, doing a few things here and there. And I wasn't getting a ton of traction. I didn't know really what I was doing, but when you are passionate about something, you just kind of are always pulled towards doing something, right? In that space. So it's kind of dabbling and doing things with my nutrition business specifically. And, you know, had my website and I was blogging, and, so I didn't really know how to truly market myself or anything like that. And so here I was working for this supplement company and just feeling really depleted, like just not in a space where I could use my creative gifts, and had somebody, looking over my shoulder every single day and calling me at like 8 a.m. And for those who know me, I'm not an early riser. So I just didn't love it. And I actually remember this moment where he's my husband now. At the time, my boyfriend, he had surprised me with this trip to New York. And I was like, oh my God, this is exciting. It was for my birthday. And I remember, number one, feeling that excitement followed by, oh my God, how do I get the time off work?
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to go into, the office, and I basically lied to my boss and told him that it was a half lie. I said that my parents were taking me away for a couple of days for my birthday. I feel like it would have landed more by saying my parents versus my boyfriend. Yeah, right. And so, and I remember just in that moment, basically lying, and I felt really shitty about it. And then I also felt this pull towards, really needing to do my own thing and wanting to do my own thing, because it feels so crappy to have to ask somebody for permission just to take, it was a Friday to a Monday that I was asking for time off. So just to take those 2 days, right? It just felt shitty. Like, wow, I'm relying on somebody else to tell me a yes or a no and grant me this like permission to go away. Yeah, that really sucks. And so that was a real pivotal moment for me, because that's when I was like, okay, I can't have this happen again. Now, it's not like things switched in the blink of an eye and all of a sudden I was like, great, I started my own business and it was easy. I still did stay in corporate for a few more years, maybe another 2, with another company. I ended up getting fired from that job, which was fine. I actually got fired twice.
Did they find out that you were with your boyfriend?
No, they never did actually. Actually, that's a good point. I don't think they did, but possibly. And so I ended up getting fired from this other job. They were actually just changing direction, sold their company and got rid of a whole bunch of people. And it was at a time where I was slowly gaining traction in my online business, and I was really starting to learn more about marketing, and I was getting more clients, and like there was some traction that was really starting to happen. And so I got fired, and I literally remember calling my boyfriend and celebrating and being like, the universe did for me what I couldn't do for myself. And
okay, that is interesting. And I was wondering if that's where you're going, which is why I was so quick to speak. But here, okay, so like, thank goodness that sometimes the universe will do things for us that we really want. But also, like, isn't it interesting that we know what we want, but we like wait until it's like we're forced into the action sometime?
Totally.
I know. I'm like, why do we do that? It's like you were working in the supplement industry, the nutrition industry already. You knew you liked it. You knew you were passionate about it. Actually, I would love to know that part too, after we finish this conversation of like, how did you develop that passion for that industry? But looking back, I mean, sometimes we just have to have the push that we need. But also, like, can we just encourage listeners that if you know that you want something, like, don't wait to be forced into it, right?
I know. Yep. It's so true. It's so true. I think it's just a level of trust, like not trusting ourselves. And so
you're going to die when I tell you this. Literally was, my husband and I we dated for 4 years, and then we were married for like a little over a year. And I was like, we need to have a baby. And he was like, you're crazy. Like, we're still toddlers, basically. We don't need to have a baby yet. And I was like, no, really, we need to have a baby. So then, and at this point, I'm like coaching a drill team, teaching dance, working at a sports club. Like, I have my hands in all these things.
Yeah.
So I end up getting pregnant. And I'm looking around at all the people that I work with, and I'm like, I I don't want to wake up at 5 a.m. and coach drill team with a new baby. I don't want to be gone till 9 o'clock at night with a new baby. But all the people that I was working with, they all had babies. They all had kids. They were all doing it. And there was something inside of me that I was like, but I don't want to. So no joke, I literally prayed, if I have 2 babies at the same time, everyone will let me quit my jobs. But otherwise, I don't dare. I'm not brave enough to say no. I'm not brave enough to ask or say to my husband, like, I actually don't want to do all of this. Please please, God, just send me 2 babies at the same time. I don't know if you can see this, but that's a twin.
Yes.
And that's a twin. Literally pregnant with twins. I prayed twins because I was too scared to make a decision for myself. I mean,
my God, I just got goosebumps.
Maybe that's real. Maybe it's not real, whatever it is. But I look back now and I just want to encourage people that if there is something just screaming at your heart, and maybe you're going to have to, ask and pray and get yourself in a situation where you get fired so that you can have what you want, but also
Totally.
You can have what you want. If you know what you want, and if it is screaming on your heart and it is so important to you, then just say to yourself, I have the ability to ask and choose what I want. And I think I missed out on that because I was so worried about conflict. I was so worried about hurt, this loyal thing that I owed people, me showing up and doing a good job. I feel like I was oh my, I think we made $13,000 the first year that the twins were born because I was making the money while my husband was in school. So it was a big ask for me to not, and what's so interesting though, is that that's where my current business was grown from my home. There was a whole nother path that maybe if I could have seen the whole other path, maybe I would have been brave enough to ask for it or demand, but trusting ourselves, there's a path. There's a path waiting for us. So you get fired and you go into this thing, right? It's okay, let's hear about that.
Yeah. Well, got fired. And like I said, it took about 2 years, right? I was at this other job with the whole travel thing. I ended up getting fired from that job, went to the next one, was there for about 1.5 years, give or take. So by the time I really dove into my business, it was a good 2 years, 2.5 years. And so there was this span of time where I was putting more energy into it and it was getting traction. So like I said, I got fired. Universe did for me what I couldn't do for myself. And it just was all in perfect timing. And it worked out, in the right time and the right space and sequence that it was meant to. And so here I am, no corporate job and, my business full time, and basically made this commitment, this no plan B commitment that, this was going to be it. I'm going to figure out how to grow this and scale this and make this work. And I'm really lucky that also my husband is an entrepreneur. So he was really on board and was yeah, no plan B. You're doing this, you're going to figure it out. And so obviously I had more time in my calendar, not working, 9 to 5. And this gave me an opportunity to really dive into marketing and really learn how to market my business. And so I took online courses. I went to different events. I was networking with all sorts of people. And that was amazing because that networking got me connected with some amazing podcast hosts at that time. And then they invited me on their podcast. And I didn't have a massive platform or Instagram or anything at that time. I didn't have anything. I didn't have this massive thriving business, but I still put myself out there, and I had people that took a chance on me and they invited me on their shows. That brought me traction and brought customers over to my site and brought me clients and people purchasing my ebooks, just that's how it started. It was this natural, very slow growth. And it was me showing up every single day, committed to learning and figuring out what I just didn't know. I was, a one-woman show. So I had to do all my tech by myself. I had to learn copywriting and write everything on my own. And then finally got Instagram and was showing up more on social media and was creating all my content, right? Like all of the things. I had to do that all on my own, plus coach clients. It was a lot. And that was just really a pivotal moment for me of like, I can be resourceful. I can do this. I can figure this out. And I think within that first year, I managed to replace my corporate income.
Awesome.
And then from there, just continue to invest in myself. I literally started my business when I had gotten fired. I had $4,000 in my bank account.
You're like, I'm going to start a business and get this going with $4,000. So when you're like buying, yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah. I had $4,000. I had to pay rent, car, phone, grocery, like all the essentials.
Mm-hmm.
And I banked on myself. I was like, I'm going to figure this out. I hired a coach that at the time was like $500 a month. And I'm like, wow, how do I even pay for this when I have literally 4,000 in my account? And I was just like, it's just going to work out. I don't know how, but it's going to work out. And I think, again, that's one of the reasons why we hold ourselves back, because we're like, I don't know how. I don't know the answers. I can't see the next steps. And so we don't take action. But again, I think, the universe does play a role in here. If you show up and you commit to yourself and your growth, the answers appear. And so, I just hired a coach and learned even more about marketing and got more support, and that paid off. It just continued to grow from there.
And what I think is so fascinating is that we are talking about, growing your business, and we haven't even talked about what it is that you were doing or selling, or like the actual work that you were doing. But this is really important, because sometimes when people like know that they're an expert at the product or the service or something that they want to do, it's like that should be good enough.
Right.
And they're like, you're like, I know everything about hormones.
Right.
I know all the things about nutrition. I know how to create a life that feels, and a body that feels good. I know how to help you. I know how to do all these things. And so people get kind of really stuck on those things over and over and over again. But why isn't anyone showing up? Why am I not finding success? Why am I not growing, my business? Why am I not making more money? Well, what do you not know? Right. And in those moments, you were like, what do I not know? I don't actually know how to market myself. I don't actually know how to grow. I don't know how to start a podcast. I don't know how to. And so what you did was you said, okay, you know what? I know these things. These are the things that I know. And that's like enough to give me the conviction to stay the course. But then what do I not know? And I'm going to do the work to figure that out. And I think that's a beautiful lesson, and something that people who are listening can take away is like, if you know, and you are so convicted in the work that you're doing or the product that you're selling, and it's not moving, then ask yourself the question, what do I not know? Like, what is it out there? Or is it possible that I don't know how to do something that's going to propel my business? Because you weren't talking, when you were sharing about growing your business, you weren't talking about getting more knowledge about the products or getting more information or, really expanding your knowledge and training and all of that. You were like, I had to find a way to get my face and my business and my services out in front of people. Have you noticed that? Like, do you see what you did? Genius.
Thanks for pointing it out. Yeah. And it's not to say that I never got caught up in that trap of like more knowledge, more courses. Because you want to backtrack like 15 years ago when I graduated from nutrition school.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I graduated and was like, great, I have all this knowledge. All these people are going to come work with me. And I, graduated and was like, it was crickets. Nobody came banging down my door to work with me. So I got caught up.
I just graduated?
Totally. Right.
Yeah.
And so I definitely got caught up in my head of like, okay, well, maybe I don't know enough. And if I take more courses and have more fancy initials after my name, then I'll be successful. So I did that for many years while working in the health and wellness space. But it finally got to a point where it was like, okay, clearly that's not the answer. And that's when I had to get really real with myself and be like, I don't know how to market myself. This is what this is what I've been missing all of this time. And then that's what moved the needle for me.
I've like heard this or this thought this year, and stop being the best kept, a best kept secret.
Best kept secret.
Yeah. Stop being a best kept secret. And honestly, I think there's a lot of truth to that, where there's so many people that just have so much knowledge and so much value and so much help that they can offer and give to all of us. But it's like, what are they missing? And it's how to market themselves, how to even help people see them, right? Or
Totally.
how do they see themselves? Like, are we, seeing ourselves as this small, insignificant, like, I can help my neighbor, but I don't really know if I can, lead this mission of worldwide help and support, or I don't know what my next best steps are. So how did you realize that you didn't know how to market yourself, like, truly?
Yeah. I mean, it was so slow. Like, I think back to, for example, when I graduated from nutrition school, and I was like, okay, I graduated so many years ago and I've had like a handful of clients. Like, what happened there? What am I doing right? What was I doing wrong? And having a website up with business cards is just not enough to get your name out there. And I think that that's what a lot of people do when they graduate from, whatever school.
Mm-hmm.
And I see it a lot with the students that I coach. It's like, okay, first step, I got to put up my website. And it's like, no, actually, no, you need to learn how to do lead generation, and you need to know who you're serving, and you need to know how to speak to them in your messaging, because if you have no leads, you have no sales. And so that was the piece where I was like, okay, I put up this website, and essentially what's happening is I'm relying on people to find me. And that's actually my job. I have to take self-responsibility here to go find people. And how am I going to do that? So that was a big kind of light bulb moment. And, it's the same thing with business cards. It's like we hand out these business cards, putting all the responsibility on that person to reach out. And it's like, well, if they ask for your business card and they're interested, you take their information down, you follow up with them, because that's really what your job is. Your job is to connect and build relationships with those prospects, with those leads. And I hate using those terms, but I think we all understand.
We all understand. Yes. Yeah. No. And I actually was having a conversation about this, and it's the difference between, so like, there's information that you can get from a newspaper, you can get information like in a little mailer in the mail or whatever, or but there's also like a college, right? So college is a lot of information. Let's just say there's a lot of information. And a college, they like recruit people. They go to high schools and they have their tables set up and they have conversations, and you're getting multiple mailers, and they're reaching out to you, and they're calling, and they're offering all these, scholarships. Or you think about like a sports recruiter, they are like watching film, they are, contacting, they're actively recruiting. And there's also, you can go to the gas station or the grocery store, and there's like this little bill, like a little board where you can just like put that picture, and then it has like the little papers on the bottom where you like rip it up.
Number. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think so many of us are guilty of putting up the paper with the little pull-offs that we think is going to scale our business to this success. And we're like a college of information, right? We have all the tools, all the resources that we have developed over years and years and years, experience. And then we're putting up this stupid poster at the grocery store or the gas station, and we're just like, I hope someone rips my name off the bottom and calls me. When really it's like, no, you are a college. So how are you recruiting the people who really want and need you? Because half the time when they need us, they don't have the capacity to go out and look, and because they're like just surviving, right? They're just like swimming. And so it's like they kind of in a way need us to show up and be like, hi, I see you. I see what's going on here. I actually have some solutions for you, and I would love to be your mentor, your guide.
Totally. 100%. It's a great analogy with the college. I love that.
I know, but it sort of feels bad when you can see like ways in which that has shown up for you in your life, when you're like, dang, like, why did I let myself do that? Why didn't I like realize what was actually happening in that, at that time? But I guess, when you realize and you recognize it, then you do better, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's
okay. So how did you gain this passion for hormone health, wellness? Where did that come from?
Yeah. Well, when I think back to just like when I was a little girl. I was so innately connected and interested in food and nutrition, and like loved being in the garden. And my mother cooked everything from scratch. And for the most part, she still does. My grandmother would babysit me, and my mom's Portuguese. I do not speak Portuguese. And, she would hand me off to my Portuguese grandparents to babysit me. And I didn't understand anything that they were saying, but we connected through food. And, you pick up on a few things, but essentially it was through food and being with my grandmother all day and just seeing her in the kitchen and prepping food and going out in the garden with her. And then my grandfather, like, taking grapes and making wine. And so I was always just around food, and I loved it so much. And so it just really was this natural transition for me to be in the nutrition space. As I got older and in my like teenage years, I was always drawn to like the health magazines and the food magazines. And so it was really kind of just, again, this natural transition for me to be in this space. Now, I did go to university because I thought I wanted to be a teacher. And so I went to university to get my BA, and I, partway through university was like, oh my God, like this is not what I want to do. And then it really wasn't, it was somebody that planted a seed about studying nutrition. And then I was literally like, you can actually do that. Like that could be a career. I didn't even realize that was a thing. And so I finished off my degree, and then right after went and enrolled in school to study nutrition, the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition. And I continued to take courses and courses and courses, as I had mentioned, which did not grow my business. But it also might have given you a little bit of confidence. There is a balance of like stop being a forever learner and start implementing.
Yes. But when we do have the knowledge, then it gives us the courage to get to the place where we ask for clients.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So it was really a natural process for me to kind of just be in the nutrition world. I felt really connected to supporting people with nutrition. And initially I had started my business, as I'm sure most people do, just like, oh, I'll help everybody. And there was really great value in that, as I'm sure like when you're too general and when you're speaking to everybody, you're speaking to nobody, right? So at the time, I didn't realize that. However, there was so much experience that came from working with women and men and kids' health and family nutrition and doing all of that, because it showed me what I didn't want to do, right? When I was working with men's health, I was like, this is not my thing. When I was working with kids and family, I was like, this is not my thing. But then when I got to sit down and work with a woman and go through her cycle, I was like, okay, this is my thing. So it really led me down this path of really narrowing down my niche. And when I really did initially, I would say officially start my online business with a lot more clarity around my niche and my messaging, I was working with women who were needing support with PMS. I had experience with, with PMS and the birth control pill. And so I felt really comfortable and confident talking about that and supporting women through that transition. So that's where it initially started, was in the PMS space. I used to call myself the PMS fixer-upper, the period fixer-upper. And then that transitioned into women coming to me for PCOS and then weight gain and thyroid. And so it just started to expand from there. And then, working with women one-to-one, you can only get, that's only scalable to a certain extent. And you can only take on so many people. And so I started to create group coaching programs, launched the podcast, wrote a book, and there was just, other avenues of reaching and supporting women. And so my business really took off and was, a multi-six-figure nutrition business and practice. And then I had lots of practitioners reaching out to me and saying, how are you doing this? How are you getting clients? And I was like, well, I can teach you. And that ended up leading into me creating a business mentorship program, and me supporting other wellness coaches and practitioners to grow and scale their online business. So, yeah.
It's so cool. And I love that how pieces like form together to create this, the next step, the next thing. And I think something that you mentioned that's really important is sometimes you have to do things to figure out what you don't want.
For sure.
right? Like you
For
did
sure.
those things and you were like, oh, okay, I'm happy to know that I don't want this. And that doesn't mean like failure. That doesn't mean anything besides like, thank you for the information that this is not what I want. And sometimes we don't know until we do it, right?
It's so true. Yeah. It gave me a lot of insight. It's the same thing that I always tell my students around pricing and money and charging. Like, this is a big conversation that always comes up. And, you're not going to come out of the gates graduating charging, $3,000 for your coaching practice. Like, you need some experience under your belt.
Mm-hmm.
You need to build that self-esteem and that confidence and working with people and really supporting them and understanding their psychology. And, like, you really need that experience. And that's what's going to give you the confidence to raise your rates. And so I think there's a lot of value in undercharging
Mm.
because, number one, I feel like in the beginning stages, we all do it. And that when you're undercharging, you quickly realize, wow, this is a lot of work. This is a lot of time. This is a lot of energy. I'm not making a lot. And you really have to come to that conclusion yourself, because I think it's really easy for me to be like, oh yeah, you should have a $3,000 program. But for somebody who's brand new and has not done that before,
Yeah.
no, right? You need to go through that experience yourself and see the value of your time and your knowledge. And from there, that's going to help you dictate your pricing.
That's really good because there's a lot of information out there like that encourages people to, never undersell, never undersell. But there is a value in saying, no, I actually know I'm worth this. And maybe if you go right out of the gates charging a high price, maybe you haven't developed that, no, I know I am worth this. I know this is the
Totally.
value. And so as you're selling it, it's also possible that the people on the receiving side might feel like that wavering, like, ooh, I don't know,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So
It's
that is
very true.
something to think about. I love that. And as you've been able to work with women and see the changes and shifts that happen from the work that you do, like what has that been like for you?
Oh, it's so rewarding. It's so rewarding. Like, just being able to witness, whether it's on the nutrition side, which, I mean, I don't do one-to-one nutrition coaching anymore, but regardless, even in the past, like whether it was supporting them through, their hormone weight loss journey or supporting their online business and seeing them grow and scale, just being able to witness the growth that happens and the internal growth that happens, like that's the biggest thing is, somebody who essentially in the beginning stages comes to you who's kind of in this shell, and you can see all the potential that's inside there and they just can't see it for themselves. But as you show up and support them and guide them, and you kind of see the shell like cracking open, and being able to witness that is just so beautiful. And I feel really grateful to be along so many women's journeys, whether it's been on the health side or the wealth side.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And I think too, in the hormone space, when you go and, they're reading your blood and they're telling you your hormone levels, you kind of feel like, oh, shoot, like my hormones are jacked. And then you kind of feel like, so is this just the answer? Like, this is just the answer. Like my body's just failing me. It's working against me. It doesn't love me. And
Right.
so what I see is that they kind of, when they come to someone like you or someone who you have, taught how to do what you do, it's
Mm-hmm.
like, all of a sudden the opening up happens when they realize that there's options available for them, that they can,
Yes.
heal in different ways or support or take care of, because if you don't know about what you do, if you don't know about hormones and you feel
Totally.
like crap and you go to the doctor and they're like, yeah, your hormones are, completely messed up. And you're like, well, cool. Now what? It can
For
feel like a
sure.
really lonely, like helpless, your body fighting against you. And you're like, ah,
It does. It really is unfortunate. Women are just so underserved when it
yeah.
comes to, their health and their well-being. And I hear those stories all the time of women going to their doctor, and listen, I get it. We trust our doctor and see them as the experts, but at the, in the same point, they're really not the expert when it comes to your body. You are actually the expert. And so, we go to the doctor, and do these tests and we're told, this is high or this is low. And like,
or they say it's good enough.
Right. Or you're within range, and it's like,
yeah, you're like, well, what's range?
Yeah. What does that actually mean? And so, and then we're handed a prescription medication and sent on our way. And that doesn't actually get to the root of why those symptoms are showing up in the first place. So, the birth control pill, so many women are handed the pill and it doesn't get to the root of why you are having, for example, your irregular cycles, painful periods, heavy periods. You're not deficient in the birth control pill, right? Something else is going on there. So I think that we need to start asking more questions when we go to our doctor. And we really do need to take that level of self-responsibility to learn about our female physiology and to trust those symptoms that they're not in your head. If you're feeling moody and irritable and gaining weight and can't sleep and hot flashes and, all of the things that are showing up, don't undermine them and go and ask questions and be willing to be coachable and show up and get support. The solutions and the answers are out there. There's never just one way to do anything. And I really think we owe it to ourselves to feel amazing and thrive and have vitality in our, in our bodies and our, and just feel great every day.
Actually, a full circle from where we started back to alignment, back to intuition, that it isn't just for our businesses. It isn't just for, decisions that we're making. It's also for our health and our bodies and our connection and how we feel. And so a lot of times I think that we are so focused on what's happening outside of us, our business, our families, our lives, that we don't take the intuition or the alignment or misalignment in our bodies as seriously. We're not like,
it's true.
And if you think about it, that's like insane. It's like our body is the thing that's allowing us to go and do and be. And when it's crying or screaming or sleeping, when it's supposed to be functioning and thriving, then why aren't we stopping and saying, okay, this feels off, this feels bad. And I always say it's our job to ask questions until we feel comfortable with the answers.
Yes.
And sometimes that means changing your doctor. Sometimes that means going a different route. Sometimes that means trying different, solutions or trials of medication or food changes or exercise changes. But it's like, we have to ask the questions. We have to go inside
100%.
and say, do I feel comfortable with these answers? Do I feel comfortable with what's going on? And keep like fighting for that.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree with you more.
I think that's a perfect place to end. That alignment, the ease, the flow is every single part of our lives. It is us, it's our business, it's our relationships, and it's checking in and trusting ourselves to ask their questions and to make the decisions and to or to get the support. Like you had people coming to you and saying, I'm in this wellness space. But I don't know how you're building in this way, or you going to a business coach and saying, I have this great business. I have great information. I don't know how to get to this marketing myself place. So it's so awesome that it takes all of us to, to grow and to learn and to get to where we want to be. But if we listen to the inside, it's going to tell us and help us and guide us to where we need to go.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. It's that internal connection that I feel so many of us are disconnected from because we're so busy in our everyday lives and we're so distracted, and the social media and the emails and all of the things like you said, the external world really does pull us outside of that connection to ourselves. And we just need to spend some time in quiet and in calm and with less distraction so that we can reconnect back to that intuition, because I truly believe all those answers are inside, and we just have forgotten or have gotten a little bit off track, right? And it's just, we got to pull ourselves back and learn how to trust ourselves again.
I pictured it as we are a book, and the world is Cliff Notes. And everyone has told us how easy it is to just like read the Cliff Notes. And so all the information, we just believe that it's so much easier to just read the Cliff Notes. But like the book is actually all the details. The book is
Totally.
the real story. And
I
so
love
it's like we
that.
got to go back and just like be committed to reading the book. And you don't have to read it all in one day, but we
Yeah.
can't also wait till the end and then hurry and read the Cliff Notes and think we're going to have all the answers, right?
Yep. Yeah. It doesn't work that
Oh,
way for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah, this has been so good. I really appreciate you sharing this your experience and also some like wisdom for people to really advocate for themselves and to pay attention to like where their intuition is calling them, leading them in their business, in their life, or in their health and wellness. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
I end the podcast with these two important questions. I have this phrase that is fire in her heart, peace in her soul. And it's this
Mm.
balance of both believing that we can have this fire, but also like not at the expense of our peace and vice versa. So, what is something that is currently lighting your heart on fire?
I know we were talking about this before we hit
Yeah.
record, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh,
What is that? Something that is because it's important to have something that is lighting us on fire because that's the thing that's helping us get out of bed. It's passion, it's excitement,
totally. Yeah. And it's definitely not just one thing, that's
Yeah.
for sure. I'm super lit up and excited to coach my clients every day and see their growth. Like that gets me out of bed every morning. I love
Amazing.
being on calls with them and coaching them and supporting them. That's definitely one faucet for
Yeah. No,
sure.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. There's, breath work has been a really big part of my everyday and my journey and my just an opportunity to connect to my intuition and
Yeah.
to connect to my body and as a way to support my health and well-being. So that daily connection has been a really
Yeah.
beautiful,
Really powerful.
yeah, practice for
That's
sure.
awesome. And what is something that you do to protect the peace of your soul?
Ooh, I'm pretty strict with my boundaries. So, honoring my schedule and my work day. So, you know, 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock, it could vary day to day. But when the work is done, and well, let's face it, the work is never done. But it's right.
Yeah.
It's knowing when to stop for the day, close the computer, and step away,
Hmm.
and not getting caught up in constantly checking my email on my phone and constantly doing this on my phone. It's 5 o'clock and I'm deciding that I'm done for the day. Now that's out of the way and I can transition into the other areas of my life and my health and my well-being, my relationship.
Yeah.
So it's having a really clear like cutoff and separating those two because it's easy for the work to bleed into the personal life.
Yep.
And so I'm really conscious of that.
One day my husband said to me, if you don't have a to-do list, you don't have a job. And I think when you are an entrepreneur specifically and your to-do list, you feel like you're trying to, it's like you kind of believe that you could get to the end of your to-do list. But it's like, if you don't have a to-do list, you don't have a job. Like it's supposed to be like that. You're supposed to have things to do tomorrow and the next day. Like you don't have
Totally.
to accomplish it all at once. And as soon as he said that to me, I was like, oh,
Oh, yeah.
wow, you're an engineer and you don't get my life, but you get it. Okay, thank you for that. It's
I
true. It's
love
like
that.
the cutoff gives us also a job for tomorrow. So it's
It's
awesome.
so true. Yeah, we're never going to finish it all. It just keeps adding for sure.
I love that. Well, where can the listeners find you?
Yeah, so I love hanging out on Instagram. I do have two accounts. So if you're interested on the health and wellness and hormone side of things, Holistic Wellness Witch, you can follow me there. On the entrepreneur business side of things, it's Samantha_Gladish.
Love that so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.